Hey, what's up, guys? This is Rock Jock here, one half of the voice of the Ultimate Wrestling Association. And by request, I'm going to be doing this update video, kind of just updating all you guys on all the matches on the card here, going into Claim to Fame. I said I was going to try to do a promo hype video for every single match on the card, but clearly I didn't have as much time as I thought I would to do that. So I figured this would be an easy way to get everyone all caught up to speed on what's going to be going down at Claim to Fame. I will point out right now there's a slight possibility it might not be up by the 14th, because once again I underestimate how long it will take me to do Claim to Fame. So just keep that in mind. And also, this video here, I suggest that if you're in the middle of doing something else at the same time as watching this video, I suggest watch this video all the way from start to end, because this video is actually not going to be up for very long, maybe only until after Claim to Fame's uploaded. So I suggest you don't want to miss this video if you want to get caught up on all the storylines going into Claim to Fame. Now, a couple of things with Claim to Fame we want to keep up to speed on with going on all the storylines. A couple of things is, if you recall back at Pandemonium, the enforcer Nick Willis, the owner of the UWA at the time, he decided to divorce his ex-wife at the time, Pink Angel, and it turns out that the enforcer Nick Willis actually secretly signed over. He sold the company to an anonymous owner to kind of protect UWA from Pink Angel, because Pink Angel is going to want to get the UWA from the divorce. And the enforcer Nick Willis, based on how she ran the company in 2011, that Pink Angel has any type of creative control, any type of authority over UWA, that she's pretty much going to just let it go to hell, and it's not going to be what it's used to. That's what the enforcer cares so much about, is just protecting what's awesome about the UWA. So he's willing to risk everything, and he'll have somebody else who has the same sort of vision to own the UWA now. But the enforcer asked this new owner to never reveal him or herself unless he or she deems when necessary. But with that said, actually a lot of people in the back, a lot of the wrestlers actually already know who the owner is. They're just not allowed to mention publicly who it is. Hell, apparently even I don't even know who the owner of UWA is. I mean, I've never actually spoken directly with the owner. All I know is that there's people telling me what the owner is telling me to do. So, like I said, I don't even know who the owner of the UWA is. Only a few people, like a few of the wrestlers, know who've actually had to deal with him or her personally ever since, of course, took over sold the company to the new owner. And there's no telling when he or she's going to reveal him or herself to the entire world. I guess we'll have to wait and see. And also, well, actually that's the main storyline, but I'll just get into the matches right now here in a second. Yeah, so one of the big matches, one of the big draws of Claim to Fame this year is going to be, of course, the Destroyer, the God of War, taking on Brock Lesnar. And of course, back at Pandemonium, Brock Lesnar was a special outside enforcer between Planet X and Rampage, and I'm sure all of you speculated that Brock Lesnar was eventually going to get a contract to the UWA, and that's indeed what happened. And at Beach Party Slam, Brock Lesnar defeated, or actually it's not even called Beach Party Slam, it's actually now called Summer Madness, but still, I'll get down to this. That's a totally different video for a different time. Yeah, so basically, Beach Party Slam is called Summer Madness now, and there was a match where Brock Lesnar fought Rampage 101, beat Rampage 101, and at the same time, the Destroyer finally got his rematch against Lucas at Summer Madness, where there must be a winner, and Lucas managed to defeat the Destroyer, defy all odds. But even though this match was already being built up between Lucas and the Destroyer took exception that Brock Lesnar is here in the UWA, because he feels that this former WWE superstar, former MMA fighter, should not belong here in the UWA. This is where true warriors belong, aka the God of War. And the Destroyer even said that he'll die in that ring before he allows himself to ever lose to a man like Brock Lesnar. So the Destroyer already issued a challenge earlier on this year to fight Brock Lesnar one-on-one in this ring, but of course only be now here at Claim to Fame they would finally get their matchup. But the Destroyer, after losing to Lucas back at Summer Madness in August, the Destroyer pretty much went on this huge rampage so to speak, throughout the entire UWA roster, trying to prove that indeed that fluke win by Lucas indeed was a fluke, and the Destroyer is better than that. So what did the Destroyer do? The Destroyer, pretty much, he ended the career of Lord Magma. He pretty much powerbombed him off the stage, and Lord Magma has not been seen since, and that was back at Holy Night Bash. And not to mention, before even back at Bloodshed, the Destroyer, he actually injured Spike. He pile-driven him through the announce table and actually did the Kimani the Destroyer on the floor, putting Spike on the shelf indefinitely. And speaking of Spike, people are saying that Spike is going to make his return at Claim to Fame, and who knows what Spike, even though Spike's not even on the card at Claim to Fame, no one quite sure knows what his involvement's going to be at this year's Claim to Fame. I guess we're going to have to wait and find out. And another huge one-on-one match is Lucas going to be defending the No Limits Championship against Super Saiyan Broly, and it's going to be a classic David versus Goliath bout. Well, basically how this match all came to be was the fact that, well, two things. Is that one, Lucas actually won a 4-way ladder match against the likes of Yuri Lowell, Mitch Watterson, and Alex Shelley for the No Limits Championship, because Mitch Watterson was the No Limits champion at the time after defeating Gene Starwin earlier in the year. So now Lucas has to defend this championship against Broly now, one-on-one. Broly is actually called out Lucas to issue this challenge, and knowing Lucas, knowing him, that he didn't back down from a challenge no matter how insurmountable the odds may seem against a legendary Super Saiyan. But at the same time, Broly is fighting this war along the likes with Gene Starwin and the enforcer Nick Willis, because Murphy Law, which I'll get into later on in this video, has pretty much issued this whole one-man crusade to eliminate all the UWA originals. And I guess Broly has taken exception to the fact that Lucas has denounced his UWA Originals moniker. And of course, you know, back he was known as the Ace of Spades Luke Flower. The UWA Original has been committed since day one, but ever since Lucas reinvented himself as this Lucas, he no longer considers himself a UWA Original, here being the committee since day one. Apparently, Lucas considers himself a completely, totally different new person. And Broly, of course, taking exception to that, and now these two men have a huge grudge match to settle here at Claim to Fame. And Broly, well, Broly is actually kind of pissed off at Lucas and Crimson Blade, believe it or not, because now after Lucas defeated the Destroyer back at Summer Madness, now all of a sudden Crimson Blade has fallen in love with Lucas, and now they're a couple now. And knowing how fearless Crimson Blade is, Lucas is not daring, he's not telling Crimson Blade what to do, and Crimson Blade says he will be in the corner of Lucas, but Broly pretty much said, if I see that trash out there in my match, I'm going to dispose of her like the garbage that she is. So that is a boa for Crimson Blade if she crosses paths with Super Saiyan Broly at Claim to Fame in Las Vegas. Another huge one-on-one match here at Claim to Fame is going to be Tessa Blair versus Mona Loga. Basically, how this match all came together, it all actually slowly started building up ever since after Pandemonium, believe it or not, because basically what happened after Pandemonium, Mona Loga went through this slow transformation into her character. Basically, she got really cocky and arrogant, saying that she single-handedly saved the UWA, saved the Double X division from saving all of us from Pink Angel's reign of tyranny, because it was not Coco, but it was her who pretty much single-handedly eliminated Pink Angel and fired her from UWA. Because of that, she thinks, she's beginning to be very cocky and arrogant with all the other Double X's, and to throw more fuel on this fire with Mona Loga's cocky attitude. Apparently earlier this year, she went back to her hometown in Brazil to compete in some contest, and apparently she is deemed as like a supermodel down in Brazil. Now she's really cocky with all the double X's, claiming that she has a better body than all the other double X's, and saying that she has the best butt in all of the double X's in UWA, and basically is bullying Tessa Blair now. And basically what ended up happening was that back at Whole Night Bash when Tessa Blair fought Avalon for the number one contendership for the double X championship. Of course, she lost that match because of an interference by Mona Loca, them two double teaming Tessa Blair. And now Flying Tessa Blair gets a chance to get her revenge here against Mona Loca at Claim to Fame. Well, here's a huge match also announced for Claim to Fame. It's going to be a huge tag team gauntlet match for the vacant UWA Tag Team Championships. And basically, the reason why these tag team titles are vacant is because right after, well, actually, what happened was that right after Beach Party Slam, you know, there was a rematch between the Franchise Nations, Vaughn Creed and Alex Richards, to face Gene Starwind and Spike. I keep calling it Beach Party Slam. It's called Summer Madness. I keep making that same mistake. I know it's going to take a long time for me to get used to that change, but I'm sure we all will eventually. But anyways, basically they had a rematch from Pandemonium in which Vaughn Creed and Alex Richards did defeat Gene Starwind and Spike to be the Space Cowboys, become the tag team champions, and now Vaughn Creed as well as Gene Starwind are now considered both Full House champions now that Vaughn Creed's finally become tag team champions. But what happened was we all saw the fallout at Whole Night Bash between Alex Richards and Vaughn Creed. Now those two guys are now they have come to blows. They no longer want to be tag team champions. So basically what Vaughn Creed did, he found a replacement in Mitch Watterson, the so-called chosen one. And now Vaughn Creed and Mitch Watterson are now tag team champions. But what happened was that because of what the owner of the UWA said, that he or she, whoever that person may be, told Vaughn Creed and Mitch Watterson that if Vaughn Creed wants to face Alex Richards at Claim to Fame, then he and Mitch both have to agree to relinquish the vacate the UWA Tag Team Championships, and that's pretty much what Vaughn Creed and Mitch Watterson did. So now the tag team titles are vacant. Now all the other tag teams here in the UWA are vying for those vacant tag team championships, and only 6 teams are out of. We don't even know how many teams are going to be competing. All we know is basically on this marquee here is of Claim to Fame is that so far there's 6 teams announced. There's of course the Suicidals, who are now calling themselves the Sultans of Wrestling. Basically now they're not really about being, you know, suicidal individuals. Now they're more about being like all in the big oil industry in the Middle East. Now all these rich sheiks pretty much. And of course you have Evil, consisting of Egoman and his old partner in crime, Genocide. We've seen Genocide in UWA since 2005. And basically what happened to Egoman is basically Rabbit and Arisea got released from UWA, so there was no more Law Society. So Egoman had to call up his partner in crime from years ago, Genocide. Now they're calling themselves Evil. They threw their hat in the mix here in the vacant tag team title match. Of course, you got the new tag team, the Diamond Club. You got Jay and Rapid, who used to be the Higginator, teaming up with his friend Rich Rubin. And now you have a new tag team in the Diamond Club. You also have the Bone Men, a.k.a. Night Terror's servants. And one of them that I mentioned in a comment a few videos back is one of them is actually Gunter Wolf, because she was placed under Night Terror's spell, and now she's pretty much one of her like sex slaves, I guess you can call it. And of course we have the returning Brave Vesperia. Yes, Raven has recuperated from his injuries. He's been out for well more than a year. The last time we actually saw Brave Vesperia was actually at Summer Madness, of course back then it was still called Beach Party Slam in 2011. And he got injured by the Lost Society, and now he's finally back after more than over about 16-month absence. This will be the first time we've seen Yuri Lowell and Raven of Brave Vesperia teaming up once again here in the UWA. So it's a momentous return for Brave Vesperia at going into Claim to Fame, and not to mention, of course, the Mythbusters, who are former 3-time tag team champions in their own right. So I know this is going to be a huge barn burner for the vacant UWA Tech Championships.